Straight
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That's the go-getter energy that moves anyone out there, and of course yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one strategy, one way of living, one book, so far one book, and this masterclass that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to deal with hypocritical people. Now, we've been talking about the disagreements and dealing with people with whom you disagree, and how to have positive conversations with people with whom you disagree, how to disagree respectfully. And this one goes right along the lines of that conversation. What if you feel like someone is hypocritical? They seem to be representing different things at different times. You're like, this person's just a straight up hypocrite, and it's really bothering the hell out of you. And it's really hard for you to have a respectful, disagreeing conversation with this person. It's hard for you to even maintain your sense of sanity around this individual or around any conversation on the topic of this individual. How can you deal with this person? Now, I've been seeing a lot of, I'm going to tell you myself, I've seen a lot of hypocritical actions taking place recently, especially in the spring and summer into the fall of 2020. Maybe you have seen the same. And I would guess, I think we can all reasonably say that we've all been guilty of being hypocritical ourselves at times, although usually we don't admit it. Usually the person who is hypocritical won't admit they're being a hypocrite. It's often the people who are noticing it that are pointing it out and mad that the person won't admit that they're being hypocritical. It's usually the word hypocrite in our culture has been made to be looked at as a negative thing. All right, nobody wants to admit that they're a hypocrite because it's kind of like, yeah, why would I want to admit that? We all have different ways of explaining away any hypocritical things that we do or say or represent. So the question is, since none of us wants to admit being hypocritical, how can we deal with the hypocrisies that we see in other people? All right, how about we look at it that way? And then maybe as we understand the hypocrisies of other people, we can start to understand our own hypocrisies, because we all have them. So how can we deal with the hypocritical people that are out there, everybody else in the world, all those other individuals who just are always doing something hypocritical, always saying something hypocritical, they're inconsistent completely. How do we deal with these people? I'm going to tell you exactly how to deal with those people. And first, before we even get into that, let me tell you how in life, being a contradiction, and this is a different word, but this is something that I think people often get these two confused, but we'll make sure we clarify everything here. I talked about why you want to be a walking contradiction back in masterclass number 1043. Why you want to be a walking contradiction. Definition of contradiction is a combination of statements, ideas, or features of a situation that are opposed to one another. So just having ideas or concepts or actions that seem to be in direct opposition to each other. That's what a contradiction is. When we get into today's class, you'll understand more about what a hypocrite is and how they are, these two words are cousins. But also, how can you deal with people who are hypocritical without pulling all your hair out or wanting to stomp their faces in? Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is how to deal with hypocritical people. First thing you have to do, and this will help you in any time you're dealing with a human being that seems to be completely unreasonable, and they just seem to just not have the normal faculties of thought. They probably do have them, but from your perspective, it seems like they don't. Number one thing you can do, use this anytime in life you're dealing with a human being that seems to just not be that bright or not that smart. They just don't seem to get it. You know what I mean? See adults as babies who just got taller. Because that's literally what we are. Every adult who is listening to this right now, all you are is a baby who just got taller over time. That's it. No, you're still that same baby. You just got taller, and there's more candles on your cake every year. That's it. Everything else is pretty much the same. All right. You would not blame or attack your 6-month-old child for crying for a bottle, right, and then not drinking it. Now, if your child is crying and you're like, all right, they obviously want a bottle, then you give them the milk bottle, and then they don't want to drink it, you wouldn't get mad at them. You wouldn't yell at them. You wouldn't point them out. You wouldn't air them out on Facebook and say, this 6-month-old kid, little Joey, is a hypocrite. You know, he was asking for the bottle, then I gave him the bottle, then he didn't want to drink the bottle. I mean, I don't know what the hell his problem is. Somebody let me know. I give up talking to this individual. You wouldn't do that to a 6-month-old baby. All right, don't do it to a 60-year-old man. Why? Because they're nothing but that baby 60 years later. See adults as babies who just got taller. They got taller and they got more chiseled features, but everything else is pretty much the same. Why wouldn't you blame or why wouldn't you attack that 6-month-old baby for being a hypocrite, even though the baby just did something that is clearly hypocritical? Why is this? Because we know that babies their brains aren't fully formed. They can't even speak. They are unreasonable. They are illogical, and they change their minds all the time based on what? Their immediate needs. Whatever they need in the moment, they will change their mind in order to fulfill that immediate need, and they'll forget whatever they wanted, whatever they said, or whatever they did in the past. They'll completely forget about that and only focus on what's going on right now in the moment. Babies do this every single day. They are crawling, pooping, vomiting, contradictions all the time. Is this true or not? Any of you who has raised a child, is this true? I think so. I want you to understand that adults are no different. They just got taller and older, and they can walk on their own, and hopefully they can go to the bathroom by themselves. But other than that, they're pretty much the same. So if you look at every adult you come across, especially the ones that you think are kind of dumb, kind of slow, they obviously don't have any common sense. Maybe they weren't raised by anybody with any kind of sense either, which is why they don't have any sense. And you just don't understand. You cram to understand this person's line of thinking and their lack of logic and their lack of reason and their just overall lack of intellectual depth and intelligence. You just don't understand where they came from. Understand that they are nothing but a 6-month-old baby. You would not make any of those statements criticizing a 6-month-old child, right? Because you understand the child just doesn't know what they don't know. Guess what? There are a bunch of adults walking around here who are the exact same way. They don't know what they do not know. Do not criticize them. Do not attack them. Don't get mad at them. Don't browbeat them and try to tell them why they should accept your way of thinking and your way of looking at things and why they're dumb to have become such hypocrites, because you do the exact same things. Other people are listening to this and they're gonna look at you like an adult. They're gonna look at you, the adult, as a baby who got bigger too. All right, we just look at everybody like this. We all will have a whole lot more compassion for the actions of other people. Point number 2. I think that's a great plan for world peace, what I just gave you there in point number 1. So somebody can record that and send it to whomever votes for the Nobel Prize, and I will gladly accept. Point number 2. Today's topic is, how do you deal with hypocritical people? Because there are plenty of them walking around here, aren't there? And not us, but everybody else, we know. Definition of hypocritical. It means behaving in a way that suggests one has higher standards or more noble beliefs than is the case. Let me read that again. Definition of hypocritical. Behaving in a way that suggests that one, meaning you, has higher standards or more noble beliefs than is actually the case. So let's talk about a specific example. And this one is a more serious example, especially in the climate that we have now, especially with what has been going on. Probably by the time you hear this is still going on when it comes to racial relations amongst people, especially in the United States. People ask the question, and some people have asked this question out loud. Nobody has asked the question of me directly, but I would gladly answer it if someone asked me. But since nobody asked me, I'm going to pose the question to myself, and I'm going to volunteer to answer it right here on today's show. Here's the question. Why do the Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter crowd, of which I don't know if any of you follow me anywhere else on social media, but I am not a part of the Black Lives Matter crowd. Do I believe that Black lives in a logical sense, not the hashtag, but do I believe that Black Lives Matter? Well, I better believe it because I'm alive, so my life better matter. But I do not follow the doctrine of the Black Lives Matter hashtag or the movement, whatever you consider that movement to be or whatever you think is about. I am not a part of that crowd for multiple reasons. That's not what we're talking about here. We'll probably get to that a different day. But people sometimes ask, and people who are not black will ask this question, but they're not allowed to say it out loud right now. So any of you who is not black and you are thinking of this question, but you haven't posed it out loud yet, I'm not mad at you for not posing it. Actually, I applaud you for not posing it, because for you to say what I'm about to say, you will probably get canceled, attacked. I don't know. Your life might not matter if you say this out loud in the wrong place at the wrong time, if you get what I'm saying. People ask, here's the question. Why do Black Lives Matter protests when a black person dies at the hands or the knees or the gun of a police officer, especially a white one? But when a black person kills another black person, which happens a lot more often, and it happens a lot more frequently, and it seems to be not big news at all. Why does Black Lives Matter not protest that? Why does Black Lives Matter not say anything when a black person kills another black person? Because it happens every day. But when a white person or a white police officer kills a black person, which happens only a few times, maybe every year, it becomes headline news and it's spread all over the world, and people are marching and protesting and hashtagging, and is all over, is everywhere when it happens this one random time. But when it happens every single day and it black on black in a black community, nobody seems to give a damn. Why is that? Now, again, if you're not black, you can't say what I just said. You can't even ask the question, okay? But I can ask the question because I'm black and this is my show. I'm going to ask the question. Not only am I going to ask it, I'm going to answer it. And I'm going to tell you why. Why is there not the same outrage for black people when a white person does something to one of ours that there is when, why is there not the same outrage when one of us does something to our own? Now, many people who are maybe part of the Black Lives Matter crowd, or many people who just happen to be black, period, if that question was posed to them or asked of them, they would not be able to answer the question the way that I'm about to answer it. They would maybe ignore your question completely. They would maybe dismiss the question of you asking it. They would probably try to find a way to turn the tables and attack you for even asking the question, as if you were, trying to get them in some type of gotcha moment. Listen, even if I was to ask that question of certain black people, they would attack me just for asking the question. And I'm black. Okay, but I can ask the question to myself and answer it without any fear of retribution. Okay, logically speaking, this is a very legitimate question because death is death. A dead body is a dead body, no matter who is the cause or the reason for the dead body. If you're dead, you're dead, right? So I would think that every dead body matters, and this is where some people can come to the justification of saying all lives matter. Now, I'm not going to dive into that part of it here today. Again, we may do a whole masterclass just on this subject alone, but death is death, right? Every life matters on some level. We all can agree to that. And if one of them is happening more than others, black on black crime happens a lot more than white on black crime, especially at the hands of a police officer, wouldn't it just make sense to wonder why it seems like the woke black community does not give a damn when a black person kills another black person, yet it becomes a history lesson when a white person does it? So since I'm black, you're not. I have license to answer this, you don't. Here's why. I'll finally answer the question. When a black person kills another black person, there is no enemy, no common enemy, no big enemy for us as a black people to blame or to attack. There is no history of bad relations, black versus black, for us to refer to. There is nothing that we can put out to the mass media that will get the masses stirred up. The masses meaning masses of black people and maybe even white people. There's nothing we can put out to the masses of people when a black person kills a fellow black person. It'll get everybody stirred up and excited and hashtagging and putting on the news. The news cameras ain't showing up to the hood because a black person killed a black person. Or the greater community of human beings do not give a damn when a black person kills another black person. All right, we can't get any attention. There's no attention to be drawn from that. All right, it happens every day. This is happening. In case any of you didn't know. All right, black people kill other black people all the time. It happens every single day. It never makes the news. We never hear the names. There are no hashtags. There are no t-shirts for black people who kill other black people. There are hashtags and t-shirts, but they're local. All right, they don't become national news. It only becomes national news when it's white on black, especially when it's a police officer. And here's the reason why that happens. I just kind of gave you the non-reason. Now I'm gonna give you the actual reason. I'll make sure I'm saying it out front. When a white person does it, all these elements exist. There's a big enemy to blame or attack. Black people can say, oh, white people are doing this to black people. There's an enemy that has been identified. There's a history of bad relations that goes back to before any of us was alive, but people who are alive now like to point out these bad relations from way back before any of us was around to have done any of these things or to have experienced them. But we like to bring them up because we don't want to forget our history, which is one justification for it that some people use, the good or the bad of the history. There's that history of bad relations. There's something to get the masses stirred up. A seemingly racially driven outcome. A white person did something and a black person ends up dead. This gets the masses stirred up. This gets the news paying attention. This gets the cameras to come out. This gets the lawyers out. This gets Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton up out of their rocking chairs to speak. This gets everybody excited and interested. Thusly, you get a whole lot more energy. So is this, now all that being said, I've answered the question, okay? Y'all wanna know why Black Lives Matter gets excited when a white person kills a black person, maybe every, 10 times a year? But when a black person kills another black person hundreds of times a year, there's no preaching, there's no protest, there's no march, there's no nothing. It seems like nobody really gives a damn. That's why. Everybody got that? Now, here's the question, because the topic here today is how to deal with hypocritical people. Is this hypocritical? That Black Lives Matter gets excited when a white person is the killer, but they don't give a damn when a black person is the killer? Or it seems like they don't give a damn. I'm not going to say that they don't give a damn, period, but it seems like they don't give a damn. It's definitely not as much noise. It definitely doesn't get as much attention. Is this a hypocritical thing? The answer to the question is yes, of course it's hypocritical. But does it make more sense now? I hope it does. So I'm not trying to solve the hypocrisy that I just explained. I'm not trying to solve it. I'm just explaining to you that yes, it is hypocritical. I'm telling you why it's hypocritical. Everybody got that? Now you may be wondering, well, Dre, I mean, it's hypocritical, yes, but why would they want to be hypocritical like that? Why would Black Lives Matter, the movement, the organization, I don't believe it is. I can't even call it an organization because that's the very thing that they lack. They lack organization. But whatever we want to call Black Lives Matter, however you want to label that whole situation, all right, why would they want to be so hypocritical? I'll tell you why in point number 3. Today's topic is how to deal with hypocritical people. Point number 3, I want you to remember, human beings are driven by self-interest. And you are a human being just like whoever is a part of Black Lives Matter, maybe somebody who's listening to this right now, we are all, me, you, everybody is driven by self-interest. I got a masterclass just on this topic alone coming soon. I might put it out tomorrow. People will position themselves, all people will position themselves in whatever way best serves them in the moment. Let me repeat. People will position themselves in whatever way best serves them in the moment. In our culture, for example, we call this fronting. All right, some people call it being hypocritical, but we use a word, we call it fronting. Fronting is when you position yourself a certain way right now, but just yesterday you were in a completely different position. You were looking a completely different way. You were talking completely different. So we say it fronting. Oh, you fronting now because your boss is in the room. Or you fronting because you're trying to show off for this girl. You're fronting because, oh, you got yourself a new car, so now you want to act different. That's what we call fronting. When people just change their stripes and change their energy and change the way that they're conducting themselves just because a small little piece of their situation has changed. Maybe a big piece of their situation has changed. This is hypocritical. They present themselves as something different than what they just were the last time we seen them. Why? Because they are driven by self-interest. Some of you may call it fake. Some call it hypocritical. We call it fronting. It's all the exact same thing. Call it what you want. It's going to happen no matter what you call it. No matter what label you put on it, it's going to happen. Why? Because this is just part of human nature. You have done some fronting in your life. You've done some things that somebody could look at and call fake. You have been a hypocrite at different times in your life. You may not label it that way yourself, but one of your enemies will call it hypocritical or fake or fronting. Agreed? Let me tell you a little bit more about this definition of the word hypocrite that'll help put a bow on this whole conversation here, okay? The word hypocrite comes from Middle English, which comes from the old French word hypocrite, Y-P-O-C-R-I-T-E, hypocrite, via ecclesiastical Latin from the Greek word, check this out, the Greek word hypocrites. And guess what that word hypocrites means in Greek? We got any Greeks listening to me right now? You know what that word means? It means actor. The root word of hypocrite comes from a Greek term that literally translates to actor. A hypocrite is an actor. People can and will, I'm out of the definition now, ladies and gentlemen. People can and will change their colors to suit the times. And sometimes, you know what? That can be a very smart idea. Changing your colors and changing your ideas and changing the way you conduct yourself and the way you walk and talk to suit the times or to suit the situation that you're in so that you can thrive in that situation. Sometimes that's a really smart thing to do. So what I would suggest that you do when it comes to dealing with hypocritical people is not hate the players, hate the game. Let's recap today's class, which is how to deal with hypocritical people. As we see a lot of hypocrisy these days, I'm sure you've seen it, you have experienced it, you read it, maybe you've been it. But how do you deal with people who are hypocritical, since we know it's not us? Point number one, see adults as babies who just got taller. You will not blame or attack or do a tweet storm against a 6-month-old baby who was crying for a bottle 1 minute and then not drinking the bottle 2 minutes later. Why is that? Because we know babies are unreasonable, illogical. They change their minds all the time based on their immediate needs, forgetting what they once said or did just 10 minutes ago. They are crawling contradictions. Adults, guess what? We ain't no different. We just got taller and we can use the bathroom by ourselves. Point number two, definition of hypocritical is behaving in a way that suggests that one has higher standards or more noble beliefs than is the case. Some people ask me, well, why does Black Lives Matter get excited when a white person kills a black person, but when a black person kills a black person, Black Lives Matter doesn't say anything? Why don't they have the same outrage? It's because since death is death, I'm black, you're not. I'll answer the question. Because when blacks kill blacks, there's no enemy to blame or attack. There's no history of bad relations. There's nothing to get the masses stirred up. But when a white person does it, all of those elements exist. It gets people excited. It draws attention. And human beings, the human nature of us is we get more excited about things that we know will draw more attention to us. Is it hypocritical? Absolutely it is. Does it make more sense now? I hope it does. Point number three, remember that human beings are driven by self-interest. I got a masterclass coming on this very soon. People will position themselves in whatever way best serves them in the moment. Some of y'all call it hypocrisy. Some people call it fronting. Some people call it fake. It's all the exact same thing. Definition of hypocrite comes from an old French word meaning saying hypocrite via ecclesiastical Latin from the Latin word hypocrites. What does it mean? It means actor. Literally, hypocrites are actors. And you know what actors do? They change their colors to suit the times, to suit the stage, to suit the scene that they are acting in. And sometimes it's a very smart idea. Don't hate the players, hate the game. Actually, don't hate the game, just play the game and work on your game. Dre all day.